All right. So, just doing an update on my de La Maza training. I got, I think about 10 days in, I got 3 days left on the first vision drill, which is the concentric squares. So, and then I'll move on to night sight. But that's what I've basically been focusing at for now, that and playing games and trying to analyze them the way he describes. So at some point, maybe I'll make a video, maybe I'll play a live stream where I play a game and then analyze it de La Maza style. But I do have a video explaining how this concentric squares drill works, but you do it for the first 14 days of the de La Maza training, and it's to help with your board vision so you can kind of see how the pieces coordinate and see all areas of the board. So basically, you know, I'll go through the drill here and talk a little bit about what I've observed as I've done it, and I'll do my drill for the day now. But basically, you start out with the rook, and for instructions, see the other video. But we go around in a concentric square, have our queen ready, until we get to the point where we can have a safe double attack or skewer. So this would be one here, this would be one here, because the king would have to move, and then we would take the rook. And then so we just go around, and we just look for safe and successful skewers or double attacks as we go around. So we'll go, and this square will get bigger as it goes around, and eventually it'll end up right here. So I'll just continue on, move it around. And how I like to do it is if I goof up and tap on a square where it wouldn't be successful, or where my queen could be taken, then I start all over just for that square. So you can see you don't get a lot of excitement until you get some separation between the king and the rook, because like right here, there's not even any squares that work, right? Because anyone where I would have a double attack, they could take the queen. So you start to get more squares available when you get around here. Now the squares here would be, you know, these two squares. Note that this square would not be successful because black could just go to c4 there and break that communication. So the thing I noticed, so we have two skewers, two double attacks. Kind of the patterns that you learn as you do it that are helpful for going forward is that the rooks tend to be, you place the queen on things that are diagonal from the rook, and then we'll discuss the knight and the bishop when we get there. So I'll just kind of go through this quick. And you notice here there's nothing, because anything would not work. And note, like, this would not work. So if I did this, it's not successful, then I would make myself start over like this. I do notice that it has gotten easier as I've moved along. So we got two skewers, fork, fork. And now we start to get some more because we're gaining some separation. Nothing there. Right? Amazingly nothing there. Notice that this one does not work because of this. So see, these are the diagonals, right? And skewers. Diagonals once again. This diagonal doesn't work because of that. So I'll just kind of buzz through it the rest of the way. And the key isn't to just go as fast as you can. I try to like kind of absorb what I'm doing, and then you kind of pick up these diagonal patterns, and that's what's kind of going to be helpful. I think that's what helps your board vision when you kind of do it more slowly and deliberately. Alright, so that's it for the rook. Then we go on to the bishop. Same idea. We go around in a concentric square. A couple skewers. And once again, as usual, there's a kind of pattern developing when we get to there. I'll kind of point it out. So now we're actually getting enough separation with the king that the pattern starts to develop. And that pattern is that where the rook, we would go at diagonals from it. The bishop, it's a diagonal piece, so we go vertically and horizontally from it to look for our attacking squares. So like vertical, 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 and horizontal, horizontal. Note that this one would not work because there's this interposition. So, and you kind of notice too that kind of it's kind of like a long side, short side thing. Like it works on the short side because if they interpose here, we can take it, you know. But it doesn't work on the long side because if they interpose here, we can't take it. So, yeah. So I'll start from the beginning. Like you said, that one doesn't work. Skewer, skewer, fork, fork, double attack. Not there, here, here. Now we're getting enough separation. We're a file over, so we look for ones on this vertical, 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 horizontal, horizontal. This one does not work because of that. So, see, my instinct was to put there, but that would not work. So if I did that, I'd make myself start over on this one. So, you know, in fact, it's just those two. And I've noticed my instincts have gotten better as I've done the drill more. They pop out to me more quickly. So like I kind of just skip over that, don't reach for that one kind of thing. So it's a little bit monotonous, but I do think it's helpful. Time will ultimately tell. That's why I'm doing it. Like I don't think many people have actually done it entirely from the beginning, following everything exactly as he says it, and reading all the little details in the book. Notice there's no short side light square over here, so there's going to be a long side one where it could interpose. So these are kind of patterns you notice. And I have noticed in Blitz, I do kind of, I've been trying to actually avoid Blitz, that's one of his recommendations. But when I play the short time control, I'm just seeing these things faster. So And I think it's probably eventually going to help for calculation, I would guess. All right, so we're done with the bishop. Go on to the knight. The knight, of course, combines the two things, as we were saying, how I picked apples today, actually, at an apple orchard. This is the best apple cider I've had in my life. But the knight actually kind of combines a couple, each element of the rook and bishop, I've noticed, as we're going through the drills, because we can look at things both diagonally from the knight, and then both vertically and horizontally. So it takes a little bit longer to scan for all the squares because there's more opportunities, right? Because it's a short range piece without a long ray. So you notice once we get a little bit of separation, we actually start to have, because it can't move one square and interpose, we start to have successful ones earlier because we cut off the squares. And then I'll point something out as we get there, as we get even more separation. So once we start to get more separation, this is where we have to look at both the diagonal and the vertical and horizontal. So like here, it doesn't work here because the strange interposition, but you know, we got two on the vertical. The horizontal, this one doesn't work because of this, but this works, right? Because it can't interpose, and this works. So then when we get to this square, this is the first one where we got to look at both, you know, straightforward and diagonal, because we have diagonal here and diagonal here. So, and then we have straightforward here and here. We're too close to have anything vertical yet, but here we still have the. And see these don't work because knight can go here, but we did get both vertical and diagonal. So when we get to here, we still have horizontal and diagonal. Diagonal, diagonal, vertical. Oops, so I failed, so I gotta do that one over. See if I go here, he's got the interposition. So then I start over. Here, here, there. Now these two do not work. That's important. So this is the only one that works. So diagonal, diagonal, vertical, vertical. doesn't work because of that. That doesn't work because of that. So it's just the skewers, vertical and diagonal. Horizontals don't work on that square. So I think part of it is kind of picking up these patterns, because like if you can kind of internalize them, hopefully over time it'll start to pop out pretty good. And then like he recommends doing this like once a month or so, or before tournaments, after you do get all the way through this drill. So So that's a square with a ton of them, because kind of on, it's interesting, like on the original night squares, then all the characteristics of the diagonal, horizontal, and vertical come into place. So vertical, diagonal, 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 horizontal, horizontal, vertical, vertical, vertical. So that's kind of an interesting observation as well. And see, this one too, we had vertical and horizontal and diagonal. Of course, you know, it's because we're getting to the edge of the board. See, night square has the most. All right, so got the lion's share done. Now the queen is like super easy, because we basically only have skewers, right? Because the queen can go both vertically and diagonally. So we don't get any until we get diagonally with at least a square in between them, right? So it goes super quick, because they're all diagonals until we get more than more than one square in between them. So now we can successfully do a skewer from vertically, diagonally, of course, and then now horizontally. So this will be the last one, and then we went through. So that's what it is, 2 weeks of that to start out with. Then we go on to a week each of 2 different night ones, and then I guess there's kind of like a grueling night thing that takes about 6 hours, which I do plan on doing. I don't know if I'll stream the whole thing or not. I don't know if it's amenable to that. I'll have to read it when I get there, but yeah, I just want to kind of document the process. and just that I can look back and see, and people can point out what I did wrong. Um, like my goal is to follow it exactly, try to not make any mistakes, but as I pointed out in one video, I mean, some of the stuff is open to interpretation. There's a lot of information packed in. So, I'll do my best to follow it to a T. So, anyway, hope that was, you got something out of that. But just documenting my journey, and we'll see how it goes.